African Americans are a critical constituency when it comes to Democratic voters. We saw that bear out on Tuesday, but more importantly, black women also play the most critical role when it comes to being Democratic voters. In 2016, 94% of black women voted for Hillary Clinton. There was a 9-point gap between the number of black men who voted for Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. We also saw in 2012 and 2008, black women voted at a higher rate than anybody else for President Barack Obama. Yet, over the past year, we have seen a 10-point drop in the number of black women supporting Democrats. And so sisters have made it clear to Tom Perez and others, you had better pay attention to black women if you want their vote. Let's break this thing down with, joining us via Skype from D.C. is Melanie Campbell, President and CEO of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation, also head of the Black Women's Roundtable. Joining me in studio, Janice Mathis, Executive Director of the National Council of Negro Women. Also, we have Angela Saylor, Gloucester Institute as well, Republican strategist. So let's get to this. And actually, I'm going to start with you, Angela. I had a meeting 15, Republican National Committee, and Reince Priebus is there and several other Republicans and a sister with the RNC, and she says point blank, she says, no group hates us more than black women. I'm reading today's Wall Street Journal where Republicans in New York are saying, hey, we got to do better when it comes to black women, when it comes to Latinos. The bottom line is here, I keep saying, as long as the Republican Party keeps playing the voter suppression game, when you look in affordable health care, black women are going to continue to nail them at the ballot box.
Well, you know, the other thing, Roland, is as long as the Republican Party isn't putting forth black women candidates as well to help engage on the policy issues and engage with the communities, it's going to create a really serious situation for the party. And I think this election in Virginia is a wake-up call. It's definitely a victory for Democrats, but it's a wake-up call for Republicans. I mean, even when you look at the ballots, when you look, Jill Vogel got the most votes on the Republican side of the ticket. And when you really look at those numbers, you see that Justin Fairfax numbers is what really helped Northam get over. I mean, you cannot discount the black vote and you cannot discount women. And as a party, we've got to do a better job with diversifying our front line that's out there, our leadership that is more reflective and can really speak and engage and relate to the larger community.
And Janice, issues, and what we are seeing African-American women make it perfectly clear where they stand on those critical issues. And if you reach out to them, if you activate them, if you put the resources behind it, they're going to turn out. That is a lesson that Tom Perez and the rest of the Democratic National Committee had better be paying attention to going into the midterm elections next year.
One of the smartest political operatives I've ever talked to said issues drive politics. And if you look at where millennials are, they're not particularly attuned to either party.
Right.
They're looking for a message. And if the message has to do with, you look at Northam in Virginia, had a long history of being in favor of certain kinds of criminal justice reform and allowing ex-felons to vote. Millennials are listening for that message, not so much to elephant or donkey, but who's speaking my language. And we talk about health care and even this tax reform debate that's going on. We had at NCNW, we had 38 women's organizations meeting Saturday, not about politics, about issues and about public policy. Over 3 million women represented. They want to talk about education, jobs, and health care. That's the bottom line. And anybody who can answer that demand for issue-based policy is going to, and watch guns. 3/4 of the voters in that race in Virginia who don't own guns voted for Northam. So that's telling you something about...
that was coming on the heels of the shooting, of course, in
coming
in
on the heels of all of these shootings that people are tired of.
Melanie, Justin Fairfax mentioned Adrian Shropshire of Black PAC. We're going to talk next with Quentin James. Of course, he and his wife, Stephanie Brown James, over the Collective Political Action Committee. And what you are seeing is not just simply black women voting, but also black women putting their feet to the pavement, going door to door. The poll that you put together, of course, and launched along with Essence Magazine, spoke to the issues black women have with the Democratic Party. Do you believe after Tuesday, the party is now listening and saying, okay, we better actually put some money where our mouth is?
Well, Roland, I apologize. I'm not in there with you guys, but I'm under the weather. I don't want you to catch it, so I hope you can hear me well.
We got you. Go ahead.
But I was on the ground. I was on the ground in Virginia because I live in Virginia. I'm in D.C. by day and Virginia by night. And I was in Richmond, Virginia, knocking on doors last Saturday, which is part of why I'm sick, because we got rained on. But the doors we knocked on were black women's, millennial black women to senior black women. And black women were tuned in. So I could feel it Saturday in Richmond, Virginia, that we were turning out, because I say now is follow black women. We're trying to tell you, if you follow us, we're gonna lead you to the right place. I also know, because I know that APRI was on the ground. I know SEIU 1199 and 32BJ were on the ground, putting resources in black precincts. Although I know there's this notion that there was all of this investment in black precincts, that's not what I understood. There were people like, you mentioned Black PAC, Collective PAC. Folks put their money in those black precincts, and that made the difference. Because at the end of the day, I'm hearing this narrative on some networks that women made the difference in Virginia and New Jersey. Black women made the difference. 48%, Northam got 48% of the white female vote. He got 91% of the black female vote. Major difference. In New Jersey, black people were the secret sauce, if you will, and black women lead that. So it's very important that people put the investment in early, because I remember 2008, how great it was when the first black president, and then two years later, the things changed on Capitol Hill. Why was that? Because there was not investment in continuing to build on the party level, investing in black women and other progressives running for office in these local and state races. And 2018 will impact the next decade. It's about power. And so when it comes to redistricting, who gets elected governor? Who gets to be elected the state legislatures? I think it's 87 of the 99 state legislatures are on the ballot next year. 36, I believe, governors are on the ballot next year. And a lot of those are southern states. Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, right, where black people, Alabama, where 55% of black people live in the South. We need a Southern strategy as well to make sure that we black folks' issues are addressed, and we have to also be leading that effort. And so that's where we are with the Black Women's Roundtable and many, many others. I'm glad to see my sister Janice and Sailor there. Black women, follow black women, and we'll follow you to the right place.
Janice, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to thank Melanie for what she does on the ground, because that's so important. You can't wait until 6 weeks before the election and start building the infrastructure on the ground. That's got to be in place a year and a half, 2 years ahead of time, block by block, precinct by precinct, old-fashioned retail, building constituencies on the ground so that people know when, why, and where they're supposed to vote.
Also, Angela, black women, they're the ones who woke white women the hell up. 53% of women voted for Donald Trump. That was white women. We saw Tuesday in Virginia, white women turned on Ed Gillespie and went to Ralph Northam. 5 million women across the world mobilized on the Women's March. We're going to have later in the show a sister out of New Jersey where a white male Republican mocked the Women's March. That's what caused her to run against him, and she beat him by more than 1,000 votes, a 32-year-old sister. And so what we're seeing is that black women are causing white women to wake up. And so now, if you are white men and you Republican, you might want to be real concerned now about woke white women.
Well, the other part about woke women in general is we've got technology now. And so, you know, trying to campaign to different segments of the population with different messages isn't going to work. And it doesn't work with women. Women in general like sincerity. They like trueness to the bone. And so when you see mixed messages coming across, with lit drops that say one thing, and then a radio ad that says another, and a television ad that says something completely different, that really creates a sense of, are you really sincere? And I think women in general are looking for sincerity, and as she said, looking at what are you talking about in terms of the issues, and what are you going to do to adjust the system to make my life easier.
Melanie, last question, about 30 seconds, but you talked about, again, the external groups, the resources they're putting to bear. I think also what is needed here is not even just a demand of the Democratic National Committee, but literally the entire Democratic progressive infrastructure. So when I'm talking about DNC, I'm talking about labor. Let's keep in mind the AFL-CIO got rid of their entire civil rights division. Let's talk about these environmental groups. Let's talk about Emily's list. Let's talk about all of those groups, because they are spending tons of money. Not only that, Democratic Governors Association, DCCC, DSCC. You have an entire infrastructure that will be spending lots of money. And so what's next? About 30 seconds, go.
What's next for me is that we actually have a new 501c4 that we're going to be announcing very soon. I'll give you a heads up on that when we're ready to announce that, because we have to make sure that we're also funding our politics. We all have to be, wear many, many hats in this new political reality we're in. And so that's one thing for us. And the other is we just have to all come together. We have to unify more so that we can have more power together. We're too scattered. And I also want to give one more shout out too, though, to Women's March, to Tamika Mallory and Carmen and all of them, because we were in Detroit a few weeks ago where we really challenged white women to say, follow black women, really breaking it down, the realities and the impact of racial justice and gender justice, how that played out in this election. And I know I saw a lot of white women in my precinct, right, voting, who I believe voted the right way. But we have to know that black women, we are the most progressive vote, and we have to demand that people respect that. And we have to also invest in our politics to make change in the community. And thank you, Roland. Thank you for all.
Melanie Campbell, thanks a bunch. Go get some rest.
Weekdays on TV One.
I will never lie to you.
Oh, my God.
Roland Martin.
He doesn't want to talk to us. He wants to ignore us.
Uncensored.
Hell no. That ain't gonna cut it, boo.
Unapologetic.
No, that is fundamentally false. You are wrong.
Unfiltered.
He wants an America where we all look alike. He ain't talking about black people.
Unrelenting.
You better go work out, because you got a fight on your hands.
NewsOne Now with Roland Martin. Weekdays at 7 a.m. on TV One.